Welcome again to our community here in the Netherlands. We are very honored to have you here with us, inshallah, to discuss a very important topic, the topic of marriage. And of course, we have 2 days. Today, the interactive panel, inshallah, with everyone. And tomorrow, and also the Q&A, of course, today. And tomorrow, inshallah, the workshops. So let's start. Maybe just before we start into the marriage, Brother Raza gave a short introduction. Maybe you can tell us more about your experience, what you have done in this field of marriage, and what you have done in England, for example, in Dar al-Islam, and the experience you have gathered in all these years.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من السميع العليم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum, my dear sisters and brothers, wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So thank you so much for inviting me here. I am honored to be with you all. One of the really important things that when we have a conversation, and I told Sayyid Muhsin this, is that it should be informal. I'm a very informal person. So if you want to make me comfortable, please try to be as informal as possible. Don't make this formal. Through informality, we will learn together, inshallah. So yeah, so Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us many opportunities back in London. Let me see a show of hands. How many people been to London? Okay. Has anyone been to the center called Dar al-Islam?
Yeah, we have somebody here. And one there, 3.
This is your wife, right?
Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, she's been, of course. So okay, so one person, 1 or 2 people. Okay, so Dar al-Islam Center, Allah gave us the opportunity, subhanahu wa ta'ala, to lead this particular center. It's in a place called Willesden Green in London. It's northwest London. And so what we've done recently is we found that spouse selection has been a really, really big challenge in the community. Very, very big challenge. We found that our youth are delaying their marriages. There are more conditions from both, from the sisters and from the brothers' side. You know, they're setting more conditions. So the brothers are looking for hur al-ain, mashallah. They have a description of someone who has this particular characteristic, and she has to be this and that, otherwise I'm not accepting her. And the sisters want a cash machine, to actually get married to a cash machine that never runs out of cash. So there's obviously a problem here, because we don't seem to understand that there are certain foundations for marriage as Islam has laid them out. But I think, you know, we'll go into different reasons, inshallah, in today's conversation and tomorrow. So we recognize that there have been quite a problem in our community in selecting the right spouse. And so what we did was, and there were people coming to us and saying, look, I need to get married. And I was saying, well, why are you not getting married? Well, I can't find anyone. Both from females and males. I mean, but the issue is that when you try to bring people together, there is incompatibility because our expectations have changed. Okay? So therefore, what we did at Dar al-Islam is we said, look, enough is enough. What we're going to do is we're going to launch a system. Okay? We called it Dar Match. So this system, you will register yourself in that particular system. So let me just be very honest and clear about this. So the idea, when I had this idea, I said, all right, we're going to come up with a system where it takes you around 15 minutes for you to fill out a form, online form. Half of this form is about you, and half is about your spouse, your potential spouse, their characteristics. What do you want from this potential? What we're going to do is we're going to do big events. We're going to bring people together and then let them see each other. and then just let them get married, right? That's the only way we can do this. So the first thing we did, actually, was just before the Dar Match idea, was we did a trail. Do you guys know what a trail is?
Like hiking.
Hiking, yes. What's hiking in Dutch?
Wandeling.
Wandeling.
Something like that.
Yes, you do wandeling. Yes? So we went and we did all wandeling. Yeah? We went and we, they all wandeled together.
Actually, that's perfect. The way you made the verb.
Yes, they all wandeled together.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, actually there were a lot of registrations. And you know what, the sisters? This is what I'm about to say really shocked me when I started working on this particular area, is that when we come up with an event about matchmaking, right, and we say this is an event for matchmaking, whether it's a wandeling or it's an event in Dar al-Islam, we get a huge number of sisters registering and hardly brothers registering. So what we tend to do, this is a reoccurring trend. What we do is we stop sisters. We say, we put on our website, or the normal sisters registration only open for brothers. So now what we're going to do in the next one is we're going to start with only registration for brothers, to wait until how many brothers register so we can open registration for sisters. Which shocked me, because I really didn't think that the sisters will want such an event, but they are much more, which makes sense at the end, because the system, our cultural system stops our sisters from proposing to brothers. It's the cultural system. Yes. In Ramadan, last Ramadan, I was in Toronto, so I spoke about spouse selection. I spoke about Khadija salamullahi alayha. She proposed to the Prophet. Who's married? Oh, no one is married here. You guys are married.
Yeah.
That's a stupid question. But actually, there might be people married here, no?
Yeah, maybe the active members,
okay.
A few of them. The rest should be single.
The rest should be single. So, do you know that, inshallah, you will get married? When you get married, the brothers, the passage that you will say, the sentence that you will say for getting married, actually, your wife will say, would you accept me as your wife? And you say, qabilt. So when you say the actual sentence, you have to say, she's proposing to you, and you say, yes, I accept. But our culture says, no, that's aib. That's embarrassing. The sister cannot approach the brother to say, I'm interested in marriage, can we meet? Because that's just not nice. Okay? So that is the reason why we see, in my opinion, we see a huge rise of sisters registering for these events. So we did a trail, and then it was very, very successful. A lot of people came. Okay? And then so far we've done 2 big events at Dar al-Islam where we've done a whole day matchmaking. So from 10 a.m. all the way till 5 p.m. with lots of activities. Okay? And I can go through details into how we did this. And there was really good positive, and there's ongoing matches at the moment where people are seeing each other, and it's ongoing. Okay? And is this, am I supposed to stop?
This is my side for it. No,
yeah.
Just saying.
So in answer to your question.
Yeah, so the question was, of course, like the experience you have, why we invited you, of course.
Yeah,
and,
that's the experience. We've seen a huge number of people wanting such activities.
You've given also a lot of workshops and presentations. Yeah, I already told them to. It's coming, I think.
Making shino my yari.
Oh my!
Why are you making my food?
I told them the water here we can drink from the tap.
From anywhere. No, water please.
Just regular water. No, because you also given, of course, alhamdulillah, at Dar al-Islam you're a few steps further than here. Alhamdulillah, we're starting today with just with a panel and a Q&A, inshallah tomorrow with workshops, but you are many steps ahead. Inshallah we'll get there someday. You're doing the Dar matchmaking, but you're also having the presentation about spouse selection you have. So you have a lot of experience in this field.
Yeah.
That's why
I did a survey on
yeah,
spouse
that's
selection.
good.
I'll present it tomorrow, whoever's coming tomorrow. But I'll present the survey tomorrow, a brief results of the survey. And I will explain what people are saying. People are really finding a spouse challenging. Okay? Ahsant, barakallah feek. Is this, you made it?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Just got it from the market.
Masha. Look, I think you raise a very, very good point. And we are, inshallah, we are believers of God. Okay? We are mu'mineen. And we are inspired and directed by the Quran and the Ahlalbait, salamullahi alayhim. And in current times, our maraji', they direct us to what we should do and we shouldn't do. Now, what do our maraji' say in terms of mixing? Okay, they say yes. When it comes to spouse selection, it's okay. Okay, because when I want to go and get married for the intention of getting married, right? You gotta, of course, not play around. Your intention of getting married is it's okay to go and sit down with the opposite gender, speak about things. Of course, there are boundaries, there are things like that. We don't want to go into it too much. But when it comes to things like vandling, right? And you want to vandal, and you want to also have like a matchmaking event and things like that, that's absolutely fine. I'm talking fiqh, jurisprudentially, Islamically, all these things. That's fine. It's in an Islamic environment. It is supervised. Okay. It's not just like some boys and some girls coming together and doing all sorts of. No, it's supervised. It's in an Islamic environment. The sisters are respected and the brothers are respected, and there is no there is actually formality going on. Okay, so there is formality going on. Everything is done properly. All right. And it's done by people who are trusted in the community. It isn't just like a few brothers have said, why don't we just meet up a few girls? And yes, that's not allowed. So we've got to try and, at Dar al-Islam, I'll be very honest with you, we did get some people. You will always get some people come and say, what's going on? The Dar al-Islam have opened, girls and boys talking to each other and things like that. For me, I know, as someone who runs the whole place, for me, I know that I've been advised by scholars and stuff like that what I'm doing is right. Okay, is Islamically right, so I am doing that. If anyone wants to say whatever, they're free. It's a free world. You can say whatever you want. I won't give you. I will stand in Yawm al-Qiyamah and point at you and say you didn't have permission. You shouldn't have said what you said, especially in an open area where I know some people have discussed this back in London and behind my back, and they've said what's going on. But to be honest, I don't really care. What I care about is my community. What I care about is trying to really challenge the status quo that comes and says you can't, or you said the taboo that you can't do these things. So I think you've got to be brave. And bravery comes not to challenge Islamic principles. No, actually you're abiding by Islamic principles. Okay? We're not doing anything haram here. We are actually doing something that it is okay under the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So but again, I emphasize, it's not just like any random thing. It's organized activities. It's done in an Islamic environment. All these things, you've got to challenge the status quo. Now, if people are not brave enough to challenge that, then people are not brave enough. What can I do? And I really think also, importantly, it takes leadership to do this. So you need leaders in the community to come and say, I am brave enough to come and provide this service, because it's much needed service. And the way to do this is if you get someone who's a respected scholar to come and supervise this whole thing. So that people who come and say, what's going on? Actually, no, this is a respected scholar. He's given permission and he's actually attended and he's running this whole thing. So what do you got to say about this? Okay? And it's fine. If you've got a respected scholar, people who usually respect here in Holland or other places, then speak to him. I'm sure he will be in agreement. Inshallah, he will be in agreement. And then bring him here. He'll run things in accordance to of course, what is allowed. So I talk about bravery. But you guys need to do what we're doing at Dar al-Islam. I think you need to do in a formal setting. Formal setting. It isn't just about jokes. It's not like people, girls and boys, having jokes from addition. No, it's a formal Islamic environment, okay, where there is proper activities, respected activities, and there are supervisors who are married. Yes, supervisors who are married, who are trusted, and they're taking care of the whole event. You guys need to do this. I think it is. I think trust is very, very important. See, that one of the things, again, we'll talk about this a bit more maybe tomorrow as well, but one of the things that breaks marriages is lack of trust. Okay, and also the brothers, guys. You know, if you've done temporary before and you enter into a permanent, you know, trust is really important. That's all I can say. You know, trust is vital to have that particular relationship, because it depends on your commitment towards marriage. Are you committed to this marriage or not? Okay, and if you're committed, this commitment needs trust. So if you come and you've got a history, or you've done nikah before, you've done aqd before, and you don't want to tell this individual, they will probably eventually find out. Okay, or someone will tell them. So in my opinion, start off in the correct direction. If you want this person to love you truly, and if you want to love this person truly, then make sure that you tell them everything, okay? So that you have that strong bond of trust between one another. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Look, and this is all my opinion, yeah? So you can debate me if you want, and this is not written on stone. So our community spouse selection technique in the current time is not working. Okay, and I tell you, and I'm seeing that, and the idea of at the moment, the idea of a brother going to propose to a sister because they've either his mum has seen her somewhere, or her friend has introduced them and things like that. That can work, yes, but it doesn't seem to be the right approach, or the best approach in the current time. Maybe previously, you know, probably all your mothers and fathers, they got married just like they saw each other once. If you're Iraqi, or if you're Iranian, or if you're Pakistani, or whatever, you know, you saw them once, and you know, yeah, okay, I'm marrying her. You know, I know my father, he saw my mother, I think, once. He went to my grandfather's house, and then she came, she brought tea, you know, like the good old movies at that back to the time. She brought tea, and then I think she brought tea, maybe she brought juice. It doesn't matter. And then so they had, yeah, and then he said, yeah, that's the one I want to get married. And then they got married, and here we are, many years later. So that was the marriage then. Now things have changed. In my time, when do you guys think I got married? Just shout it out. What year?
How old you were, or what?
No, it's fine. Which year do you guys think I got married? 2004. 2000. Hey.
It's better to do the year.
Yeah. So I got married 2005. Yeah, so 20 years ago I got married, okay? And the way I got married is exactly that. I met my wife, I'll say one time, once only, or 1.5 times. I'll explain another day. But anyway, that was also that particular time where things were actually, you know, I was like convinced, you know, I had a few criteria, not much, and she didn't, obviously. I mean, she didn't really have a lot of criteria, and then it all happened. Okay. Now what's happening is, you know, there are a lot of conditions, and in answer to your question, the reason why I'm saying all this is that the people are not satisfied with only a few conditions. So from both sides. So we think huge amounts of time about whether he is the right person for me or not, or he will think, is she really? So maybe I can get someone better than him, her. Okay? And of course, just to emphasize that men marry women and women marry men. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just so that everyone is aligned here.
That's the scope.
That's the scope. Yeah, yeah. So the idea is that what's happening now is that people are having a whole list, big list of conditions, big list of things like he's got to be, you've got to work like this, you've got to own a house, you've got to do all these things. And the sister as well, she's got to be like, gorgeous looking, she's got to be very thin, she's got to have this type of eyes, she's got to have, and I speak to the shabab, I speak to them, I say, well, what about this person? And you say, no, not that attractive. And whatever attractive means, by the way, everyone has their own definition of attractiveness, isn't it? And so I think social media has played a huge role in this, because now when you look at the men should really be muscular, they go to the gym, they wear like tight clothes, and they put the phone while in the gym, and then they lift things, yeah, just to show that their muscles, and they're getting all these likes. And the same thing with the sisters, but not obviously in the gym, but they do all those poses, and they've got to be really, because the expectation is that a woman now has to be extremely thin, okay, and she's got to look in a certain style, and so this has damaged, the spouse selection. My time was easy. My parents' time was even easier. Now, as you can see, things are getting harder and harder, and for you guys, it's quite hard now. So in order for me to answer your question, I will say that there are certain principles. I'm going to say something obvious, you know this, but there's certain principles that has to be ticked. And then you do tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this thing, look, you're not going to be convinced of what I'm going to say, okay? But why can't we go back to that particular time where there are certain principles, and we can talk about these principles. And if these boxes are ticked, not many, by the way, just one or two. I mean, of course, there's this famous hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, "Man ja'akum man tardawna dinahu wa khuluquhu fazawwijuh." Do you know what? People stop after that. So the translation is that the Prophet says, if someone comes and he has good akhlaq and good iman, then marry them. But people stop there. Do you know what the continuation of this hadith is? He says that if you do not do this, if someone comes with akhlaq and iman and you don't marry them because maybe they don't have a lot of money, if you don't marry them, then there will be fasadun fil ard. There will be corruption on this earth. Do you see? There will be huge corruption on this earth. And so what happens is that the brothers go and do temporary marriages. The sisters stay until their 30s, 30-something, they're not married. Okay? And this is corruption. Because we need reproduction, right? People need to be, loneliness is very high, okay? People are very familiar by just being behind the screen, sitting behind the screen. Mental illnesses are rising and rising and rising. Depression, anxiety, self-harm, all these things are rising because people don't have family. Yes? So, in answer to your question, long answer. The list of conditions, you should tick the principles, and there are certain principles and there are certain boxes that are preferable. The principles, if they ticked, then in my opinion, if you have like one maybe or two of the preferables, then go for it. The most important thing is the principles are ticked. And none of these principles got anything to do with dunya. All these principles are either iman, of course, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of faith. And you're going to ask me, how do you find that out? I can tell you, but of course we can have a discussion about that. And of course, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. He says, what's my job? What was the job of the Prophet? Why was he even sent to mankind? To do what? to establish makarim al-akhlaq, to establish morals and ethics. Okay? And so these are the two fundamental points. Everything else will fall into place. Now, preferable is attraction, it's job, it's in terms of status, in terms of all these things are preferable. But if you have these things established in terms of akhlaq and tadayyun, then everything else will fall into place. I mean, I can talk for ages on this.
No, I think one of the question here is actually. Oh, sorry.
But just to answer your question, like 10th time, I'm old school in this. Okay, my old school answer is go ahead, because it depends on your niyyah. You say, speak to Allah, guys. We don't talk to God. We don't have a conversation with God because of our lack of iman. Because the thing is that I don't see God. They ask Amir al-Mu'minin, they see him. Someone asked him, "Do you see God?" He said, "Of course I do." It's like, "Do you see this box?" You all will say, "Of course we do." It says, "There's a box here, all right?"
We need it for the next.
No one sees this box now. Shuhaim Bain, it's a cheap box.
We'll cut this part.
Huh?
Yes.
Cut that part.
Yeah, we'll cut it.
No problem. So the Amir al-Mu'mineen says, of course I see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I see him different to the way that, this vision, Allah has made it for me to see the materialistic world. But the heart He has created so you can see the things in the akhirah. The heart sees. The eyes sees the materialistic world. The heart sees something else. The heart doesn't see human beings. The heart doesn't see this table. The heart doesn't see this glass. The heart sees Allah. The heart sees the ruh, the spirit. Okay? So what we've got to do is try to have that tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that niyyah. And when I say niyyah, and I say, "Oh Allah, I speak to you, oh Allah. Oh Allah, this person has come and proposed to me, or I'm interested in this person." They all say his akhlaq is so good. His friends, society, community. I've sat with him 10 times, and I can see his or her akhlaq really, really well. The iman is very well. But of course, maybe he doesn't, he's a bus driver. Okay? Or he does this. "Oh Allah, guide me. Speak to him." And I really think you should go ahead with it. Because when these two things are established, then nothing else will matter. Let's be old school in this, guys. We've moved far away from principles. That is the problem here with spouse selection, is that there are so many complicated things that we've added. So many spices and salt and pepper and curries and stuff like that we've added. But actually it's a simple it's a simple formula. It's a very simple formula. It's a simple recipe. But we've complicated it now. Let's go back to basics. You telling me that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and afterwards and the time of our parents and stuff like that, that was a poor time of selection, spouse selection? No, that was much better than it is now. Now we've complicated things. So principles, then there are certain preferables, maybe one or two will be good. Otherwise, principles should be established. I told you I'll talk a lot.
No problem. No, I think
I warned you.
Very good advice, and the people are here to listen. It's actually one of the questions. I think it's answered now. Is it bad to reject someone with a good deen, but you're not compatible in other things? I think you answered that question already perfectly. Before I go to just a few, we have a few questions here. I think 3 about. I know it's a subject on its own, but it's about trust. Maybe before we go to the question, so one of the questions is, what do you do when some part of trust is broken? How do you have a conversation about it? And the other question is, how can you trust someone after being divorced? So after marriage, he's supposed to be another guy, and then you get divorced, how it's again important to establish the trust again. And the other question about trust, how do we trust a man that you won't play with our feelings? I think a woman's asking this. And if I show interest first, for example. So I think those are 3 or 4 questions about trust in the spouse selection phase. You just named it in an earlier question. So maybe you can elaborate in these 3, 4 questions together.
Yeah. I mean, there are quite a lot of stuff about that, but trust is a very difficult thing to establish. It's very difficult. I mean, people get married for years and years and years, and then they find out that one of them they've mistrusted another, and so it's very, very difficult to establish. But then again, you see, all this goes back to your level of iman, your level of, again, I'm talking things you know, okay? But trust goes back to, if you're a true mu'min, then you will, of course, make sure that you say all truth, okay, and do not manipulate others. I say there's, we are limited beings, okay, and there's only so much I can do in order to establish that this person is telling me the truth. But you've got to do all these things, and then do tawakkul on Allah. Don't try to achieve the impossible of, I need to know whether he or she are completely truthful. You can't, because you are a limited being, okay? You can only do what you have the ability to do. So one of the most important things to do, okay, is ask around. And that, again, good old technique works really, really well. And it's really important, in my experience, to ask those people who perhaps have had issues with this individual, or they've had a problem with them. And you've got to, when people come and call me and they say, Ali, can you ask, this usually is fathers calling me to say, this guy has proposed to my daughter, okay? Can you find out about this guy? I would love to find out about this guy from someone who doesn't really like that guy. So I try to find out, why don't you like him? What is, because I know if I call his friends, they say, oh, mashallah, he's an angel, he's so good, he's so trustworthy, he's like, if he was a woman, I'll marry him. Calm down, seriously. Actually, I had one person telling me this once, which is a bit weird. He said, if you're a woman, I'll marry you. Listen, mate. Just chill, all right?
Out of scope.
Yeah, it's a bit out of scope, yeah. So it's I don't want to talk to his friends, because his friends are just going to magnify everything. Yeah, because they want to attend his wedding, and they want to make sure their friend gets married. Yeah, and they get... No, I want to talk to someone who's like had beef with him. Why did you have beef? Okay, what was the problem here? Okay, so I can delve. There's something, there's substance I can actually work on, all right? And so you can try to really find out from this by asking. That's really, really, really important question, first, in terms of trust. Number 2, I think there are some, they've done studies on this. There are certain questions when you meet him or her, you can ask in order for you to try to establish trust, okay? And inshallah tomorrow we'll go through some of these questions. And I think finally, number 3, I think family plays a huge role in this, okay? Family are crucial. Now when you look at that particular family and you say, are they a respected family in the community, or a family that have lots of issues, lots of problems, lots of mistrust in the family? Okay, and remember, how does trust come about? Through your experiences in your upbringing, through your interactions with your parents, and things like that. If your parents, maybe they didn't even trust you, and they continuously ask you, are you lying, are you doing this, and stuff like that, then you grow being this person who doesn't trust others, nor others will trust him or her. So you start saying, manipulating things and lying. There's been a lot of studies into these things. So look at the family. Look at the family. Are they people, individuals who are respected in the community or not? So I think these are the three cues that you can have, and you can you can do only your best, and then you do all your homework. What does Allah Subhanahu wa Taala say about this? This is a verse that everyone should memorize. وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, every human being, وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ, every single human being has a limit. وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. But then the next verse is so important. He says, وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. But I will monitor how much he's going to work to reach that limit. So you have a limit from here to here. So this is you. Your limit is here. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, you can't go beyond your limit. I get it. Okay? But I'm going to monitor whether you're going to try to reach your limit, to reach your potential. Okay? Some people are just sitting down at home and saying, yeah, I want to get married. Baba, you've got to get up. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, you got to do action. اعْمَلُوا عَمَل فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will witness your action. عَمَلُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will also, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi will also witness. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And the mu'minun, of course, is interpreted as Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Ahlalbait. Okay? So these are you need to have action. You can't just come and say, well, I want to get married, and then, Mama, find me this wife. And no, I don't want her. Oh, I don't want her. Oh, she's each other. And you look at her picture. By the way, can I continue? Wallah khaf minnak.
No. I've treated you so much.
No, yeah.
I have maybe one follow-up, if you want to finish this, but one follow-up question is, let's say you've done all that with your advice, and then you get married or you get engaged, and then there are trust issues. Is it then a test of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or what's your advice in that case? Maybe to close the subject of test, and then we go to, is there some advice how to deal with? So you did your best,
yeah.
And you think, okay, I can trust this woman or man, and then you get engaged,
yeah.
And after marriage or after being engaged,
yeah.
this trust issue then start. Is it then a test? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to see how I deal with this? Is there some advice?
Yeah. So you've done your work, and then later on you find that there is a trust issue. Then take this as a lesson that there's got to be something about this. There's something going on there that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala wants to test you. We are mu'mineen, okay. But the main thing is that you've got to be in a position where you, in front of Allah, you say, "Oh Allah, I tried my best to find out, but then, my research maybe wasn't that great enough, or you're trying to test me, or you're trying to." Give me a lesson out of this particular thing. So yeah, that could be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. So it stays like a hard situation, and you have to deal with that test.
Yeah. But look, you've got to do your research properly. Okay. I mean, it's
no, of course.
Yeah. I mean, regarding, for example, I know a lot of sisters are very sort of, this temporary marriage issue. There's just like, are they? Was he married before temporary marriage? Is he, things like that and stuff like that. And then later on, when she finds out that yes, he was with this X, Y, and Z before he got married to her, and then she says, you didn't tell me this, and then there will be a problem. Look, fine, if this is important to you, some of them will say, it doesn't matter, it's fine, it's halal for him, he could have done it. But if this is important to you, then make sure you do your homework properly beforehand. Make sure, if he says no, then maybe you should do more research than that, okay, and really try to find out if there is true or not. Yeah.
And else, it's not everything in our hands. Maybe if we did really everything, then maybe
exactly. So again, وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ. Remember all this. In spouse selection. Remember this. وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. Okay? And I just, you can talk to him, I'll say one thing. And by the way, a lot of us focus on looks, okay, and attraction. And what we've done at Darul Islam, when we started this initial thing, is we said, no photography. So you don't select your spouse according to the photo. The first stage, of course you got to sit down with them later and see them and stuff, but the first hurdle is no photos. So imagine you guys are single. I just choose one of the shabab here and I will say, okay, so I've got a really good, I haven't even seen her, but I've seen her characteristics. And I say, look, I've got a really good person for you. She's very well educated. She's a mu'mina. We've done the research. She's akhlaq is very good. People in society, community really like her, and they say she's got beautiful akhlaq, etc. From really good family. Principles are done. Tick, 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 tick. Okay. Do you have some preferables? You say, well, she's got to be white and a shade of grey and you know, a bit purple. And you know, a bit of orange as well, a mixture of all that kind of that. I say, all right, then let me try to find that particular breed in society. Okay, and I probably can't find her. But if these are then, if your preferables, then I'll try to do that. But look, these stuff are ticked. But then you tell me, okay, what about her face? I say, well, look, if you sit down with her, if I show you a picture now, and you guys as well, if I show you a picture, you'll say, because pictures are deceiving. What were they in? What kind of mood were they when they took the picture that day? Okay, or what kind of hijab were they wearing? Or you guys, what kind of hairstyle did you have? You know, just was it like, you know, these like bushy hairstyles, or you had the glasses on, or whatever. All these things. So pictures are deceiving. Maybe when you sit down with them, that 1 hour, that 1.5. You start, maybe you don't really particularly engage with the looks, but you start to engage with the heart. You start to engage with that smile. You start to engage with that soft talk. And you say, yes, this is, I want to pursue this. I want to pursue this relationship. But if I was to show you this picture right from day one, you say, no, I don't want to, sorry, that's not my type, yes. She's like 5 out of 10, man. You know, what is this out of 10? Have you guys heard out of 10? I get people coming tell me, oh, I swear to you guys, I don't mind having a 6 out of 10. I'm thinking, what is a 6 out of 10? What would you put me? Probably 2 out of 10, you know. What is it out of 10? So we've come up with this like system, all right? Everyone has their own metrics of out of 10. But honestly, looks change, okay? And it's obvious, looks change. But inshallah, the heart doesn't change. And that is profound, yes? And you don't want to like, yeah, you say, some people want to say, look, I want to enjoy my wife when I go out with my friends. Look, you know, I have like a good quality, you know, things like that. And you say, oh, yeah, she's the 9 out of 10. But what's her heart? Or what's his heart? Out of 10. Yeah. Maybe 95%, if not 100% of the sisters sitting here, which it's an interesting sample, they probably represent a good sample of people who are not here. They want to know if you guys have had a permanent engagement before or a temporary. So you should put that in terms of trust. So later on, if she finds out, it's going to be a mistrust issue.
Okay, we'll do one more online question and then we'll go to the break, inshallah. This is a totally different question, but I think good to ask. What, in the case of spouse selection, how about doing a khiera if you don't know what to do, I think, or in general, like some people practice? Is there advice from you?
Yeah, I don't believe in that. So first of all, did you guys know that khiera was not done at the times of our imams? Okay? So khiera is a new thing done after the time of our imams. Okay, why? Because the imams were there anyway for advice, for whatever, and they encourage people, of course, to use their intellect, to use good judgment, to use logic. What happened afterwards is that some ulama, they opened the Quran and they started to interpret it, and they said, look, you know, this could mean this, and then so it was a trend. Then it came on, and now a lot of people believe in this. So I remember a friend telling me, you know, if I was in the bus, and there was some guy and he was thinking of something, and there was this guy who sneezed 3 times. If he sneezed 3 times, that means that it's a yes in whatever is in. If he sneezed 1 time, I mean, what's going on here, right? And so people do khira, even, you know, if they think like, oh, shall I go shopping or not? Oh yeah, let me do khira. So it's been abused quite a lot of time. But in terms of marriage, I don't think you should do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's the difference between a human being and an animal? Tell me. Aql. Okay? It's the aql, not the brain. It's different. What's aql in English? Intellect. Okay? So Allah has given us the intellect. Now, what is the point of this intellect if I keep on just going back to khira? Okay? The intellect, the issue is that we don't know how to use the intellect. That is the problem here. I rely on emotions rather than intellect. And this is for another day, inshallah. So, how to use the intellect? Use your intellect and then hidayah from Allah. Yes? Use your intellect, make a judgment, then tawakkul and hidayah from Allah. Remember Allah, guys. Don't do this by yourself. He's here. نحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد. يحول بين المرء وقلبه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I'm closer to you than your jugular vein. And he goes between your what? He goes between you and your heart. But you are your heart. So he's here. Yes? Can I say something about the heart and then we go?
Yeah,
we have 1 minute. Let me say something about the heart. Okay? So there's a beautiful hadith about, this is a slight digression, okay, about the heart. There's a beautiful hadith that says, Al-qalbu haramullah. The qalb, the heart, yes, is what? Who translates this? Al-qalbu haramullah. Ahsant. It's the sanctuary of Allah. Al-qalb, the heart, is the sanctuary of Allah. The hadith continues and says, you should have no one in the heart, in your heart, other than in the sanctuary, other than Allah. Do you guys understand this? So you and my heart, the only thing should be inside is what? Is Allah. Now you ask me, okay, what about my spouse? I want to love my spouse. You know, the films tell us, oh, I love you, you love her, you know, and sometimes I love you, you love her, bring your flowers, all that Hollywood stuff, okay? We call them in Iraqi kashmariyat, if anyone knows Iraq, right?
The one who translates that?
Kashmariyat, in Dutch?
Dutch, English, but I think
Dutch, it's a hard word, yes. We say kashmariyat, because we don't have a qa. But the idea is that if your spouse loves Allah, then she will be in your heart, or he will be in your heart. Do you guys get it? It's not, the heart is not, when the hadith says the sanctuary of Allah, means that those individuals, those people, these things that are connected to God and love Allah should be in your heart. So your spouse, only if they love God, they should be in your heart. Do you guys get this? Yeah? If they don't love God, then they shouldn't be in your heart. And I always talk about this triangle. So there's you and your spouse. And this is Allah. So you're all connected together. Everything you do should be about God. Everything you do. This water that has not been refilled, this water, okay, why do I need to drink it? So that I can get a bit of more I'm using this example.
I know we're
I
giving
need
you a
to-
feedback.
I need
The other one.
The other one's got tea, but it's cold
Ah,
tea
it's
now.
cold
Yeah.
tea.
He's giving us feedback after the session.
Feedback, yeah, it's terrible. So I drink this water so I can become healthier, so I can do ibadah of Allah, so I can speak to the mu'mineen. Yes? Everything has to be about God. If it doesn't, then don't do it. Do you see? There are certain things, of course, you might say, okay, what about watching a movie? What is the purpose of watching a movie? I'm talking about if we are true mu'mineen here. If we are true mu'mineen. I want to watch a movie. Okay, why do you want to watch a movie? Oh, because I want to relax, because I want to relax, I want my, a bigger glass, yeah. I want to relax so that because I want to do khidmah later on, or I want to worship God, I want my mind to relax so my mind can, okay, that's your intention, sounds good. But I want to watch it because that's a sick movie, man. That's a sick movie. I want to watch it. No, don't do it. Because your intention is not about God. Everything has to be about God. Why do you want to get married? Why do you want to get married? To satisfy your desires? No, that's not about that. That's not about God. It's not about God. I want to get married because it's the sunnah of Allah. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ is the miracle of God. Ayatihi is a miracle. It's a sign of God. أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Tomorrow we'll talk about the sakina. What does sakina mean? Okay? وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. It's because what God wants, so I get married. Everything has to get back to God. Why am I here in Holland today? It's because I want to please God. It's not about please Muhsin, although I do want to please him, right? Or please you guys. And this is where the problem comes in, when people try to please people and then they fail. Everything has to be about God.
A beautiful ending of the first session.
Thank you so much. May Allah bless you.
Inshallah, we'll continue like 15 minutes. You can have a break.